because of the way we've handled it. I've been involved in the regionalization of our local school districts, which was really basically, there were 4 school districts. There was 2 K-8s, 1 K-6, and a regional high school district. And I was instrumental in getting them to form into one regional school district. That has worked out reasonably well. I did a study. I had a commission that was formed back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that looked at the issue of regionalization. The issue in the school issue, and then I'll address the municipal one. The school issue is a very, very easy one to solve, but won't be solved. The reason, well, I'll do it this way. There are several reasons why schools do not regionalize. One has to do with the way that they're funded. If you try to regionalize school districts and it's done on a community wealth basis, you will never get a town that has to pay more on a community wealth basis to join together with another town. It just won't happen. So if you were to combine 2 school districts up here, if one town had less community wealth and your town had more community wealth, you would be sharing a bigger burden of that school, even though the student populations could be equal. And towns and residents aren't willing to take on that extra burden in your town. So if Madison was going to join with an adjacent town that had maybe half of its community wealth, you would be picking up, and they had as many kids as you did, you'd be picking up the education of those children at your tax dollar, and people aren't willing to do that. The other, more simple answer is people don't want to give up their sports teams. That is such a thorny issue that if you regionalized 2 smaller communities and 2 smaller school districts, and they consolidated and had one football team, and you're smiling, you must know something. And the thing is, you won't do it. You'll have fights in the streets. If somebody loses their football team or their basketball team or their baseball team, you know, I've played all my life at such and such high. I'm now got to go and we got to have regional high. I don't want to go play for regional high. I want to play for my town. So it is a very, very difficult issue. The other is basically demographics. And people want to regionalize with communities that are similar in demographics.
Next question is this side of the room.
And let me, on the municipal side of it, let me just finish. On the municipal side of it, look, there is a lot of talk about the donut communities. There's a lot of talk about sharing services. We have to do a better job of sharing services with adjacent communities. I'm going to tell you, Princeton has tried to regionalize with Princeton Township. We have tried to regionalize. The town I live in is Bordentown City, which is surrounded by Bordentown Township. I might as well go into the kitchen and get a Ginsu knife and stab myself in the neck, trying to get people, even though our kids go to school together, play together, marry, go to church, there's something so parochial about people's thoughts about merging 2 towns that it's probably not going to happen significantly in our lifetime. It is, but the smaller communities have a difficulty with their tax base and their rateable base. And that is what's driving some of this issue. I don't know if merging, for example, Princeton and Princeton Township together, if they're going to save significant amounts of money. I do not know that. If Bordentown City and Bordentown Township regionalized and became one town, would they save a lot of money? I don't think they would save a lot of money. The perception out there is that they will. I'm not sure that has proven to be true. I'm not sure regionalized school districts in many cases have saved money. They just evolved in a little different way, and for the most part, they became probably educationally better, but they may not have become financially much more efficient. Yes, Mayor.
Assemblyman Malone, you hit very many key points. I thought there were excellent points that many people do not know about the state, and certainly you know more than anyone else in this room. One of the things the governors in particular, recently, sometimes legislators, focus on is municipalities, the subject you've just been talking about, and they say that's the source of our high taxes in New Jersey. So you've touched on some things, in particular sewage treatment, perhaps public works, certain other things which are very amenable to sharing across towns. You may know that Madison and Chatham share a sewage treatment plant, and we share certain services with Harding Township and so forth. What do you think? How big is this issue of municipal cost savings versus state cost savings? And, you know, are they equal, 10 to 1, 5 to 1?
We hold towns to a much higher standard than we hold ourselves in the state. If we had the same constraints on state government that we put on municipal government, I wouldn't be coming up here talking to you today, because the state of New Jersey cannot and has not ever lived within its means. Most municipalities have lived within its means, because you can't print money, and you can't do exotic things, and you can't, you have an infinite number of things you can sell or do, or you can't basically raise your own taxes other than municipal taxes and school taxes. We had a mayor come yesterday wanting to be able to have the authority to raise a whole plethora of local taxes, which would, in my opinion, have caused chaos. But I think if the state government is held to the same standard that you have been, we would have a much more efficient and effective and cost-effective government.
Is there at all a possibility that legislation could be passed to have the state
hold to the same standard? No, because it goes back to a question I was asked earlier about the arts funding, and that it was supposed to be dedicated. It was etched in stone. Well, that stone was a piece of soap, and it just gets washed away. And the caveat that they use, it's basically, notwithstanding any other law, we can do this. So they can, it's just like the dedicated funds for unemployment insurance. They were dedicated. They're dedicated until somebody else wants to use them, the unemployment insurance fund. So one of the reasons why there's a significant increase this year in the unemployment insurance fund is because there is no money left, and we've had